welcome back to my channel. I'm Shannon Margaret B, and this is a reading week with me. I feel like usually my reading vlogs have like somewhat of a theme, like an author or like a challenge or whatever. I don't really have a theme. These are just a couple of books that I either have to read to get back to the library, I have to read for book club, and then just some books that I really want to read. So these are the books that I will be reading this week. So I do have a nonfiction in here. I do enjoy nonfiction. I just don't really review it because I think it's weird to review nonfiction because I think every person gets something different out of it. But I'm about halfway through Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I really enjoyed City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I actually didn't realize how many other books she's written. They actually give you like a whole summary of like all of her books and the synopsis in the back of this book. This has been going very well. This is a really quick read as well, so I shall finish that this week. And then I really want to read Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I've heard great things about this one. Then this is my book club book, so historical fiction, The Last Dress from Paris by Jade. If you watched my Dewey's 24-hour readathon video, I did not get to this book, so I do have to read this week. And I kind of have to read it like pretty closely, but it's not super long, so I should be able to get through it. My book club is like literally in 2 days, and I have not read the book yet. And then the last book, if you did watch my Dewey's 24-hour reading challenge, I had gotten The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami from the library, and I wanted to give it a shot, and it seems pretty cool. I think this is a thriller with maybe a little bit of a sci-fi element, so want to get to this because it has to get back to the library and it's new, so I'm sure there's holds on it. So these are the books I'm reading in this reading vlog this week, and we will chat about some books and see how they go. As usual, I have my crafty crafts. I really want to work on my diamond arting. I have like probably the bottom third left to do. It's funny because in the camera it looks like it's done, but like it's not. It only goes like up to here. I have the audiobook for these two, but the nonfiction I don't really listen to on audio as much. I don't know. And then I have the audiobook on Spotify because I have Spotify listening hours. So I'm going to dive into some reading, and I will give you updates and reviews as I go. Also, if anyone's curious, we have a special guest, which is my soon-to-be in-laws Peppers, who is Kodak's best friend. Are you happy she's here? But yes, she is a big loaf. She's so cute. I have an update. I am on chapter 8, page 102, so I'm about a third of the way through. I am loving this book, and it's just like a really big surprise. I don't know, the first like 10 pages, I actually had a really hard time getting into it, and I was like, you know what, I have to read this first of all for book club, and second of all, like, let me give this book a good chance because it was really highly rated, I think, on Amazon when I was looking for a historical fiction that was like, obviously I have the to be reads like of historical fiction, but I really wanted something different that like I hadn't heard of. So I went onto Amazon and I was searching, and this had such high reviews and like across a lot of different types of like ages, it seemed like. So it seemed like it was a good book for like all ages because that's what my book club is, because my mom was in our book club and my sister is like older than me, and you know, everyone's older than me. I'm the youngest. I like thought this would be a good pick, and I am loving it, and I'm just so in love with the characters so fast, and they're like such unique characters. So anyway, I'm rambling. So 1950s Paris, we are following this woman Alice, and she has these like forbidden love relationship with someone, but she is married, but she's going through like the traditional like wifely duties and like wearing these gorgeous gowns and going to these fashion shows, these like Dior shows. Dior is like a big theme throughout this book so far. And then in current day, she is the grandmother to this girl Lucille. So in the second storyline, we are following Lucille, who is Alice's granddaughter, and I believe Lucille is in her young 20s, and her grandma sends Lucille back to Paris and says, for your birthday I'm going to send you to Paris, and you are going to go collect all of the dresses that I wore. And originally she tells Lucille that it's just one dress, but like it ends up being a bunch of dresses, and each dress has a story associated with it. And I don't know, I just really love it so far. It's definitely leaning a little more towards like romance and a little less towards like historical fiction, but I don't know if something will occur in this book that will be more like historical fiction based. I feel like a lot of times when you read the dual storyline books, you're like, oh, I like this storyline, let me just get through this other storyline. But I feel like when I'm in like one storyline, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get to like Alice's storyline, and then when you're reading Alice, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get back to Lucille's, and like you're just like flip-flopping and you're enjoying both sides of it. So third of the way through, absolutely love, and I'm excited because there's some good juicy bits that we can talk about for book club. So I've been like making notes on my little post-it, and like I have a note on my phone too of questions that I've been thinking of. I'm going to get back to diamond arting, as you saw I was doing before. I'm like slowly but surely, oh, the lighting, you can see way better how far I've gotten, but I was just working on like all over here right now. The dogs are chilling. They get along really well together, so it's just really sweet. And I can't lie, babysitting her does give me the second dog itch, but we just like, we rent, like we can't have two dogs. So, and it's a lot of responsibility to have two dogs. So as much as I love her and I love the experience of two dogs, I definitely think they're just so cute. They literally just like follow each other around the house all day. Such a fun weekend, and I'm here to give you a bunch of reading updates. I have gotten far in some books, I've finished some books, so we're gonna dive right into it. First is The Last Dress from Paris by Jade. So I did finish this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because I wanted there to be more of a historical fiction element, and like on Amazon I feel like it was marketed more in the historical fiction area versus like, I would say this is more of maybe like a historical romance. There is the 1950s timeline and then like the current day timeline, so like you do get like a flash to the past, but there's no like actual like historical event in my opinion that happens that is like talked about in this book to actually make it a historical fiction. Really enjoyed the love story in this. I did think it got a little long-winded towards the end, but overall it took like a lot of twists and turns actually for being like a literary romance, and I was like pretty surprised by some of the twists. I had a really fun time reading this. Our book club was like okay because half the people didn't actually finish it because they just started it and like gave up, and I will say that the beginning was a little slow, so I understand why people might give up, but I feel like if it's a book club book, you gotta finish it so we have something to talk about. I wish the other people had finished it because it would have been more fun to talk more about it, because I feel like I had so many questions and we didn't really get to a lot of them just because it's not as fun to like talk about it if like other people don't really know what you're talking about. So yeah, any tips for what you do if people don't read the book for book club? Like I personally think they shouldn't be invited, they should be kicked out. And then also when I was traveling to and from my book club, I was listening to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I read tangibly like the first half, and now I'm up to like, I think it's like part 6, which is trust. So like each section of the book goes over like a different part of like the creative process, and I'm really enjoying this. I'll tell you more about it like in my overall review because there's not much to say on a nonfiction like day to day. And then my next update is for Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I am about halfway. I'm on page 170, part 3. But this book is so good. I feel like I'm tearing through it. I got some of this done yesterday in between going to one of the baseball games, which was so much fun to go to like a Major League Baseball game. I had a great time. Black Cake has been so much fun. It starts out so strong. This book follows a son and a daughter, and their mother passes and leaves them a tape recording with like their family like lawyer, and it pretty much goes through her entire life story and how she got from like where she grew up to the Americas, and it's really fascinating learning a little bit about like Caribbean culture. And there is like a lot of twists. I wouldn't say it's like a full thriller, but it is a really twisty and turny literary fiction. It just like feels like very refreshing to read. It just feels very different, and I'm really enjoying how the story is told between like the tapes, flashing back to the mother's life, flashing back to the current day for the son and the daughter, learning about their mom, and like them talking about their childhood and their reaction to their mother's story. And I'm really enjoying it. And then there's also some points of view of people in the mother's life back then and currently, and it's really done very well. And I think you're switching perspectives a decent amount, but it doesn't really feel like too jarring. It feels like very, very natural. So I'm really enjoying it, and I definitely will be finishing this within the next day or two because I really want to know what happened. But that being said, I have a busy week of working, and I have to do a calc refresher class because I start my summer classes for my new degree in a couple weeks, and I'm starting with calc 2, and I like don't remember taking calc 1 at all. I think I took it 10 years ago when I was in high school. So I have to like buy an online course and reteach myself calculus because I'm going to drown in calc 2 unless I do a refresher course. And I will be finishing Black Cake, Big Magic, and I'm super excited to read The Dream Hotel. Also, I realized that Black Cake is a read with Jenna book, and so is The Dream Hotel. So I'm like, maybe I will like read with Jenna books because this one is going very, very well. Reading updates, I am heading out to New York City for the day. I actually have lunch with a coworker, and then I'm gonna hop on the train and go see my friend in New York City, so that's exciting. I have some reading updates. So I finished Big Magic, and I really enjoyed this. I'm not gonna give it a star rating just because I think like self-help or like inspirational books are very personal, person to person. Like I don't really think my rating would translate to you or vice versa. You might like it more, you might like it less. But I really loved it. I think it's interesting the different people that she brings up. She talks a lot about her and Ann Patchett, which I do like Ann Patchett. I read Tom Lake this year actually, and I really, really enjoyed that story. Really quickly, I'm just gonna share like my favorite little lesson from this book, and that was that she has a part towards the end actually about how she talks about like for anything in your life to get like that motivation or like that creativity spark or that insight, sometimes it's better to take a break and do something else. Talking about sometimes like an artist, if they can't find creativity, like they'll go and like learn a sport, and like just doing that and moving their body and just like thinking in a different way will actually help spark their creativity towards something else. And I feel like I've like experienced that in my personal life. Like even with reading, like if I'm not super excited to read or something, or I'm in a reading slump, like going to do something else, like spend some time puzzling, go on some hikes, and then I'm like, ooh, I miss reading again. So it's just kind of funny like how your brain does that and how you can find creativity and insight through different ways. If you are looking for a good book by Elizabeth Gilbert, I absolutely loved City of Girls. It's a really fun like roaring 20s story, and I actually do want to reread that pretty badly because I read that so long ago. I think even if you're not a writer or you're not trying to produce a film or music and like be creative, I still think then just like how you go about life is all a part of your creativity. So I think if this is like broader in the sense than like, oh, this is just a book for say if someone wants to be a writer or something, like I felt like I got a lot of like creativity insight just on like how to live life. So I thought this was very good and I highly recommend it. On my train ride, I think I may actually start The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami. I am over halfway through Black Cake and I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm gonna bring both Black Cake and this on the train just because I'm bringing a big bag anyway to like switch into my dinner outfit and then like a cozier outfit to take the train home. So I think I'm just gonna bring both and suck it up if my bag is too heavy, but that's okay. But I'm just like dying to read this and get it going, and kind of, I want more of a little bit of a thriller. I really like Black Cake and it is like thrilling, but it's a little more literary fiction and I feel like I'm craving like a interesting, fantastical thriller. Tears have been shed and I feel like I'm like stuffy from like sniffling, but I finished Black Cake. And I was listening to the end of it. I would say I probably read physically the first half, and then I switched to the audiobook just because I've been like busier the past couple of days. I really, really loved it. I think you can so blatantly tell from a book when an author puts so much heart and time into a book versus like, I think I've definitely read books where like someone he's making his rounds. I feel like I've definitely read some books where you can feel like the author like ran out of time or like had to get something in on time. Like this book just felt like a labor of love, and these stories and the amount of culture that is explained in this book, and it was interesting to learn about the Caribbean and the Jamaican culture, but then also like the Chinese immigration and like all of the food diaspora. Like there is a lot that you can learn out of this book, and I think her author's note at the end explaining where she got a lot of her inspiration and the historical references from was interesting. Oh, you can just like, it's just so different when you read like a quick turned out book versus when you read a book like this. Like 5 out of 5. I think the characters were just all so well developed, and I think sometimes I was like, okay, maybe this is getting a little wordy, but like you need all the description, you need the backstory, like you need to feel it all. It's such an impactful story in my opinion, and just seeing the journey of the family and Bunny and Byron's stories interwoven with their mother's recording after she passes, and learning about the mother's friends and parents, and like it's just so well developed. I feel like if I was like in high school or something, like writing a book report about this, like you would have so much to write about because it's just so impactful. And it's interesting because it doesn't read like historical fiction, but at the same time I feel like I read it all and I was able to learn so much. I don't know, it's always good to like read outside of your comfort zone and learn about things that you may not necessarily ever have heard about. Ugh, it's always hard to move on after like such a good book like that, but we will. I am halfway through The Dream Hotel, and I have to finish this between today and tomorrow because I have to return it, and I would renew it, but my best guess is that there is probably a waiting list for this book, and I'm having a really hard time getting the Libby copy to come in, so I definitely have to finish it. I'm halfway through though. I'm on page 134. I think I'm in like part 2 or 3. This is really fascinating, like almost dystopian, I would say, but like doesn't really feel dystopian. It honestly feels like something that could happen, which is kind of scary when you read books like that. It is about a girl named Sarah, and she is traveling home, and she gets flagged to go to this like, it's not like a detention facility or like a psych ward. It's like a holding facility, and you get placed there based on your like risk score of if they think you will commit a crime. So they use like different indicators, like debt, like even like if you've been an offender bender, like there's some people who put a dream device in their head so that they can sleep better, so their dreams can be an indicator that they might commit a crime. Bless you. Just different things like that can all go into your risk factor score. And she is on a trip home, and she goes through like a checkpoint, and they say your risk factor score is too high and we don't know why, so we have to bring you to this facility. And she's kind of stuck in this facility, and you're learning about all the other people, not inmates, but like they're made to not feel like inmates, but they pretty much are. Thing I also really like, they have like these like email like preludes where like it's just like all these emails of her like messaging the people that like run certain programs at the retention facility. It's kind of like The Measure almost, where like the government kind of comes in and you get that whole side of it as well. I will be finishing this tangibly today. Since I won't be doing any more crafting, since I have to read tangibly, I figured I would show you. I'm like so close to being done, but like still not there yet. I have maybe like 10 more rows to go. But I'm obsessed with how cool this is. I'm going to cut it out and probably frame it once I'm actually done. But yeah, can't finish yet because I don't have the audiobook for The Dream Hotel. Someone needs to go outside. Do you have to go outside? Do you want to go outside? Okay, let's go outside. Let's go. Okay. I do have to work tonight, but I think on my break I'll try to read some of this. And also apparently our highways are really bad today. There's like a ton of crashes, there's a ton of construction, so like I think my quick ride is gonna be very long, so I might get there early and then just like find a nice spot to read until I have to go to work. Is the next day and I finished The Dream Hotel last night by Laila Lalami. I also don't know if I've been saying it right this whole time, but that's okay. But I finished this last night and I'm really disappointed. I thought it was going to be like honestly a 5-star, like halfway in. I thought the concept was so cool, but unfortunately the ending was just really strange and like just rushed the entire book. And I think the book actually could have been longer. But overall the characters just felt super disjointed, and I think that's because when I read the author's note, she had started writing this in 2014 and then like picked it back up I think in like 2020, so you can kind of tell like it feels disjointed throughout the book. And I think she could have had less characters but like developed the characters that she actually had more, because it just everything felt super rushed relationship wise. And then the ending was just so rushed. So I don't really understand why that ending was the way that it was. I think it could have been so different and gone in so many different directions. I still think the concept overall is definitely worth it to read. I think it's a really cool story, and I wish there was like a sequel, because there's just so much left unanswered that I feel like she just rushed it to finish it. I'm gonna give this a 3.25 out of 5 just because I love the concept of the Dream Hotel, the narrative behind like, can you predict crime and who will commit crime and what are the indicators of possibly committing a crime, and like how does the government deal with that. So that was super interesting overall. Didn't really love it too much, so kind of a low note to end this video off on. But I had a great week of reading in nonfiction, historical fiction, literary fiction, and then this I would say is more of like a thriller, maybe a little bit of sci-fi, but more like general fiction. So I got 4 books done this week, so that was good, and I found a new favorite in Black Cake. What a good book. But anyway, I will see you soon in another video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!